stories. But when you really get down to it, this was not a sophisticated plot. The rooftop where Charlie was shot from, everybody had access to. No ladder required, no special equipment, freely accessible by anybody there. The event had no security perimeter. So they weren't looking at tickets, they weren't checking IDs, anything like this. He got shot once in the neck, and then chaos. The guy turned himself in a couple days later. The idea that this was some kind of super sophisticated plot that required know-how and planning just isn't true. They were lax. They did not do their due diligence. The idea that somebody walked up on that rooftop without encountering security, which was freely accessible to anybody, and took a shot, to me, that's not crazy. And I would say that we have a lot of that going on. Luigi Mangione, there was a school shooting the same day that Charlie Kirk got killed in Colorado. There was a school shooting by a transgender a couple weeks before that. So I think that, I guess the two flaws in the conspiracy thinking is, one, the idea that Charlie was a target of the powerful, and two, that we don't have a problem with left-wing violence or, crazy left-wingers that want to kill right-wingers. That's very real. So at the end of the day, I just didn't see any compelling evidence for a conspiracy.
There was no benefit to there being a conspiracy.
Right, so yeah, there's nothing tangible at all.
That's interesting. I'll say personally, I thought that the interview with him and Shapiro, and he was like taking anti-Zionist views, seemed to be fairly compelling at the time. But my thing with it was, I was like, is Charlie really that influential though? Like, I don't know. Maybe in my circles, he's not super influential.
Even that, you got to understand, because people brought up that interview. So what happened that day? Tuesday, the day before September 10th, Israel bombed Qatar, which is a close ally of Trump and the Trump family and many people in the Trump cabinet. And it infuriated the White House. This was like so out of line and so unprecedented for Israel to do this. Charlie Kirk, to cover it, brought on Ben Shapiro and asked Ben Shapiro, hey, so do you think Israel's losing the PR battle? And let Shapiro freely answer with no pushback. So people say that that was Charlie pushing. I think that Charlie was playing devil's advocate. I think he was pushing the pro-Israel line by standing in for a skeptical Gen Z guy, asking what that guy would ask, so that Shapiro could make the case. And there's a big difference between the two. I don't think that he was fighting on that issue.
We went on a bit of a tangent there, but what's one thing your mother taught you?
Well, my mom taught me a lot, and my grandmother too. My mom and my grandmother, they're Italian, very old school. You'd say they're grease balls, and so they had kind of an old world sensibility. I feel like a lot of white people, like you, like white people that are real, like waspy, like real whites, real whites. They have this kind of like, their parents went to college, their parents listened to Radiohead, their parents like saw Star Wars in the movies, they like comic books. And so they have this very like maybe hippie or liberal sensibility. My parents were very old school, very like salt to the earth, maybe you could say hardcore. And I guess the biggest lesson that my mom taught me, of which there were many, the one that stands out is that you never have as many friends as you think you do. My mom, my grandma, they always used to say, if you can count your friends on more than one hand, you better count again. Because a lot of people like to say, oh, I got this friend and that friend. But how many of those people really have your best interest in mind? How many of those people are real friends? They also used to say, you spend your summers where you spend your winters. In other words, the people that are there with you when you're riding high, when you're successful and everything's going right, they're not the same people that are with you when things are not going so well, when you need help, when maybe you're a liability. And you should share your triumphs with the people that are there for you when you're down. So I was really inculcated from a very early age with this kind of maybe wisdom about how people are, about loyalty, about what real friendship looks like. And I think that informs all of my politics. It's about looking for your people, looking for who's really your own kind. And that doesn't necessarily mean your own race, necessarily, but it means taking your own side, looking out for your own best interest, looking out for yourself, your family, your friends, your allies. That's really what my whole politics is based on some level, is that politics of personal loyalty. I guess that's the biggest thing that I was taught in a number of different ways.
You mentioned earlier in this interview losing 8 of 10 of your friends around the January 6th incident. You said there was no one in particular that stuck out as being a hard one to lose. Who's that person that's kind of been there with you for all of it that maybe you haven't talked about? You don't have to dox them, but...
Well, there's been many. I've met, and that's a lame answer, but...
Who's the person you call when something really bad happens, I guess?
Well, nobody. To be honest with you, I'm not really close to anybody like that, unfortunately. When you're someone like me, you can't trust anybody. And the reason why is because when somebody really wants to hurt you or kill you, they know that they can't get to you, they'll go for the next best, which is the person you trust, the person you care about, and maybe that person loves their family more than they want to protect you. And so you realize that if more than one person knows anything, it's not a secret. And so that goes for any weaknesses, vulnerabilities. You really can't confide. And it's sort of sad. That's a luxury that people take for granted, that they can confide in people and get comfort. You know, they could get a sort of peace of mind. But this is the struggle of a warrior, of a true leader. And not to sound self-aggrandizing in that way, but that's really what it means to be, in my opinion, a man. Is when you are a man, you're not contingent. People lean on you. You don't lean on anybody. And at the highest level, which is politics, that's maybe the highest level of human competition. If you're seeking a leadership position, if you want to be a leader, you have to be completely self-reliant. And you can't actually have true friends in that way when you're at the top on that in a political landscape. So I don't really have anybody like that.
Even your family?
Even my family. I mean, I confide in my mother and my father. I trust them, but I don't want to burden them, you know? At a certain point, when you're a young man, you realize that your parents can't solve all your problems. And you actually have to worry more about them than about yourself. If I tell my parents about my troubles, it might be a burden on them. So you have to look out for them in the way that maybe one time they looked out for you.
On January 6th, a lot of people ended up in jail at the Capitol. This is a common conspiracy theory about you, by the way, that I have come to the conclusion is not true. We don't have to talk about why you didn't get in trouble for January 6th. I think if anyone really looked at the timeline of events, the things that Nick said, the case around it, it's all very publicly available, and I don't want to bore everyone with the details of why he didn't get in trouble, but around the time you received a large Bitcoin donation and you had this federal case, right? So and this is my conspiracy, did the federal government think that you were a crisis actor paid to incite violence?
I think they did. It's funny you say that because I think that's exactly what happened, actually, is, you know, and the story of January 6th is a long and complicated story. Which is really unique to my situation because it does have to do with the Bitcoin donation. And basically, in December of 2020, I got this huge Bitcoin donation, which when I received it, I had no idea who gave it to me. It was an anonymous donation. And so an anonymous person basically sent me one email and said, I sent you some Bitcoin, and it was $250,000. And I replied and said, hey, let's get on the phone. I appreciate the donation. Is there anything I could do? And I never heard back. Well, then January 6th happened, and the government found out who this person was. That donation became a subject of an investigation. And they determined that it was a French hacker who apparently left a suicide note, and in the note said that he was bequeathing his fortune to people that he thought were fighting for Western civilization. Now, I don't know. That is what is reported. I assume that's true because they did find that someone committed suicide the day I received the donation from the person who left the note. But what I think the government concluded is that this was a foreign operation, that I received a vast sum of money from maybe Russia or France or some other country to lead an attack on the government. And I think that because, and it looked very suspicious because it was a huge amount in Bitcoin right before the Capitol attack. And I think they saw that and assumed that this was some kind of foreign operation. And then their next move is lock up the money and prevent me from fleeing. So they put me on the no-fly list to prevent me from flying to another country. And I think they froze the money so that they could look into my situation. Maybe wait for that.
Chicago.
Chicago for you, right? So I think that they launched that investigation with the assumption that they would find out that I was sponsored by a foreign government. And when they determined that that was not the case, I think they released me from the no-fly list, released the money, and they stopped the investigation.
How did they determine that?
Well, they investigated me thoroughly. There were no fewer than 3 U.S. attorneys that were on the case. I'm sure I got a letter, I think last year, 5 years after the fact, exactly 5 years, which said that the FBI had subpoenaed my communications from a telecom company. So I think they went through my texts. I think they went through all my information, and they just found that that wasn't the case. I think the Chainalysis, which is a U.S.-backed crypto investigatory body, they looked into the recipients and who sent the money, and I think they found that story checked out. Maybe they looked at all my communications. They subpoenaed me in Congress, deposed me, and I think that, they just found that that wasn't happening.
Do you think sometimes, though, it's possible that influencers or very influential people make plea deals based on blackmail or accusations to evade charges, to push certain narratives?
All the time. All the time. And it is really understated how much of that happens in the GOP. The GOP, more than there are even Jewish people, it's a lot of gay men. And it's a lot of gay that goes on. And all you have to do is take a look at who runs some of the media outlets and who some of the donors are. When you go to I don't want to be specific, I don't want to get sued or anything, but when you go to some of these events, that's basically what they're set up for. It's basically set up so that rich, gay, millionaires and billionaires can hang out with high school, college-age boys. That's what much of it is for. So they can be groomed. It's what it is. So that happens a lot. And so, of course, there's a lot of blackmail that goes with that territory. And then, of course, there's also a lot of federal informants. In any organized group, I don't care who it is, any militia, any membership organization, there are bound to be federal informants. And that's been borne out in the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot. In 2020, 50% of the people involved in that were federal informants or assets. 50%, including many of the leaders of the group. So, in 2020, there's this big story that an Oath Keeper-aligned group was going to kidnap the governor or something like that. And the people that were throwing the pizza parties for the losers that signed up for it were the federal government. So that happens all over conservative and I think liberal politics too.
Nick, do you ever fear that your platform is not being censored to the same extent that it was a few years back to rally support for Zionism via implied anti-Semitism?
No, because a lot of people thought that this year because, let's be honest, free speech has largely returned to the internet and there is a lot of legitimate anti-Semitism out there now, like stuff that really does cross the line. And it's all over X, and there's, generally Jewish or Israel-critical content all over. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, in a way that there wasn't even a year ago, 2 years ago. And when I got brought back on Twitter and when my clips started to go viral, a lot of people said, are they allowing it because they have some ulterior motive? And I really was paranoid about that. I was trying to act a little more cautiously for that reason, especially this year. But what you're seeing now is they are throwing that in reverse. And now they bought TikTok to censor. They want to buy Twitter to censor. At the World Jewish Congress, its president, Ronald Lauder, called for anti-Semitism laws to be passed. So, no, I think especially now it's quite the opposite. They want to shut it all down.
I was just shocked to see, like I wasn't allowed to post Andrew Tate on TikTok because his face is banned. Tristan's not. I was shocked that your face hasn't been completely like AI banned from TikTok at the very least.
I think it is now.
It is?
I think so.
Huh. I know your name, you can't type it, you have to like do some weird spelling, but I see like some clips, I don't know, they can like get the side of your face, but what's the one thing that you, Nick Fuentes, aren't allowed to say?
Well, if there's any pressure for me to not say things, at this point, I cannot signal anything against, like, let's say, traditionalism or white racialism, or what I mean by that is people expect me to be the far-right firebrand. And so if you start to push temperance, caution,